Trends O'Clock. This is Trends KE with KK Cedric.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening or good whatever the time it is you're watching this, because you know there are people watching from all over. Thank you very much for tuning in to Trends KE. It's yet another Thursday, and we do the thing as always. Tonight we have an amazing show, and we have this amazing discussion. If I can just show you what we are talking about tonight on the show. This is the discussion we are having tonight with the very amazing guests. Tonight we are talking about the role of the youth in influencing politics or setting the agenda in politics. So that's what we are talking about, and we have amazing guests whom my producer Don Jack, all the way from India, will be bringing on board. First, as always, we have our good lawyer, Mr. Nelson Mandela, who is joining us live from Nakuru. Thank you very much, Nelson Mandela, for coming to the show yet another time. And for the second time, we are also having Tiberius, all the way from Hungary. Joining us all the way from Hungary. Tiberius is a master's student in Hungary. Thank you very much, Tiberius, for joining the show. And for the very first time, we have a lady on this political discussion. Her name is Miss Towet Chepkoech, and she's a member of the KANU Secretariat. Chepkoech, thank you very much for honoring our invitation and welcome. I think it's your voice that we will have to hear first. Good evening, Chepkoech. Welcome to the show. Hello, are you getting us, Ms. Chepkoech? Yeah, we will be linking with her. I think she will be getting us first. So let's get into this. We have so much to talk about tonight. There is so much that is happening. But first off, let me bring you up to speed with what has just happened today. This is something that everyone is talking about. And I'll start with you, Mandela. Before you tell us how the law is very clear on this, the suspected terrorists have eventually been arrested. And is this a sign that the government is now working? Because it was yesterday, I think, when they broke from prison, and today they have been arrested. They have even received a chopper transportation all the way from Kitui to Kamiti. Talk to us, Mr. Nelson.
Yes, good evening, viewers. Thank you very much, Cedric, and the entire Alternative Voice team for having me once again. I must confirm to our viewers, probably who are joining us for the first time tonight, that it's not my first time. Neither is it my second time as a guest. But one fact is clear that I'm an ardent follower, a top fan of Alternative Voice. And therefore, welcome everybody, our online team. And Cedric, I can tell you before I respond to your question, that from the feedback I've gathered so far is that indeed this is an alternative voice, because it speaks facts as raw as they should be. No scripts, no briefing. We offer the alternative voice, and therefore I've been receiving multiple calls and text messages and DMs that indeed this show is doing a great work, and we're impacting outside there and helping people to make best and important political decisions as we near the next general election. Now, to respond to your question, first of all, these are not suspected terrorists. These are people who are serving jail terms, and therefore they are convicts. These are people who had already been sentenced, right? So they were terrorists serving various terms. And it's sad to say that the most guarded committee that will have people breaking out of committee, terrorists in the first place, these are serious offenders getting out. So could it be that we only know of the prison break because there were terrorists and probably this is what has been happening? How many more people have been able to get out of that place? Yeah, because probably these ones came to the limelight because they were terrorists. And to say that they've been arrested, it's a good move, by our police officers, but then should we be getting to that extent for us to work? Must the government or those responsible be risking the lives of the citizens of this republic to
Yes.
that extent so that they can be seen to be working? Must people be sacked? Must people be failing their oversight role for us to see that they are working? It's so unfortunate that we are having to discuss that the most guarded prison facility in this country could allow 3 people without having being noticed. And if anything, it is not the police who arrested them. It is the public. So let's give credit where it's due. It is the people of Kitui that noticed these individuals. From the look of things, the government remained clueless. Probably they were in Nairobi. Only for them to be arrested, and then we are seeing headlines that the CS Defense, Interior and Coordination is going to receive them at committee. It is so unfortunate that the people who are eating our taxpayers' money to protect us, to keep these people in custody, could fail on their oversight role to allow us, the public. And this is not the first time I'm doing this. I'm saying this. I said this statement when we were talking about the bandit attacks in Baragoi and South Pokot. And I said, pay the government, we pay taxes, we pay police officers, but you are relying on the public, the very people you are taxing to death, to give information on the terrorists who escaped from prison. It's so unfortunate, and it was a failure from the side of government. We did not only need to fire the head of committee prison, we need to fire from the intelligence, NIS, to Interior and Coordination, PS, to PS Kibicho, before we can come to the person because vile Waswahili anasema samaki huoza kuanzia kichwani. So it is so unfortunate. But luckily, Kenyans are vigilant. In as much as there is nothing to make us, to motivate Kenyans, at least they acted, and these people are taken back to committee where they belong.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your comment. They have been taken back to the exact place where they belong. And I really hope, Chepkoech, you can get us now. Good evening, Chepkoech.
Good evening, Cedric. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. And let me let you into this discussion that we are having tonight. The prison's boss has been fired, and the terrorists, because they had been convicted, we have just received the right term from our good lawyer, they have been arrested finally. Do you think that at that speed, the government is working as it ought to be? And does that confirm that we are safe as Kenyans?
Cedric, it is very funny because our government has become somehow reactive. We are not proactive. We wait for things to happen and then we react. That is one. Number two, what has happened today is because there was also an uproar from Kenyans. Remember that. And rightfully so, because we saw what happened in Uganda 2 days ago. So Kenyans were concerned. So what has happened, also let us stop lying to each other. Ni kama saa ile tulikuwa shule. Deputy principal akipita nje ya dirisha yenu in your class. What used to happen? All of you pretend like you're reading. So I mean, really, it's very funny because this country is founded on the rule of law. But if there is one thing the current government has decided they don't even care about, is the rule of law.
Yes.
And the respect of our institutions. We have among the best policies in this country. We have among the best brains in this country. But is there goodwill? There is none. And so when things happen, all of a sudden, everybody wants to look like they are working. I mean, how did they get away in the first place? Where were the loopholes?
Well, you're asking very pertinent questions there. And I think those are the exact questions that are supposed to be answered. And you've said there that the government is being proactive. They are just reacting to things that have happened, meaning there are no plans in place to prevent such things from happening, like prison breaks. And Tiberius, coming to us all the way from Hungary. Thank you very much for joining us. And let me just bring into this conversation. Do you think that Kenyans back at home are secure if at all terrorists can break out of a prison in as much as they have been put back where they really belong.
Thank you, Cedric. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
Proceed.
thank you. According to me, it is just the movie, The Prison Break. It is just a whole choreographed movie, The Prison Break. There are things I don't understand from the baseline, how prisoners can break and specific prisoners. You see, I don't know the findings, but if I'm convinced they were in one cube within the cell or within the prison, that is okay. The three of them escaped. But if they were amongst others, some questions are still unanswered. There's something the government is not telling us. Let's just be logical. These people disappear. You promise someone 60 million that whoever will bring us these people will give this person 60 million. Is after that is when the Kinoti and the team rushes to committee for evidential proof of what happened. The next day, you sack Kogalo, the boss of the head of prisons, immediately is replaced. And then the next day, they are found. Who is fooling who? I don't even know what to comment, but because I'm the Kenyan, I know I am. I have no powers to question the government. The government is doing its thing. It is well choreographed, and they have managed and they are winning. You see, they want to create an image. There's something coming beyond what we know, and they are creating a drama to confuse, to keep us busy. You see, they're just
Yes.
keeping us busy. There's something more than that. Literally, you see the walls of committee. You can't just come and boom, you are down. People have tried. People have died. You see, and I'm telling you, you see the likes of Commissioner Ogallo who was sacked. Tomorrow they are in another post. That one, no. So there's something being choreographed. We are reading the script, but we are not understanding the script. That is according to me. I've been trying to follow and try and understand this thing. It is not adding up according to me, literally. It's not adding up. It's not at all. Even if I was a lawyer like Nelson, if I go to the court, I'll lie more.
So, according to you, this is a whole movie with a script which you cannot even comprehend.
It is a whole movie, and then you find these people after Uganda
Yes.
is bombed. How? There's something has been timed to take place. You see, or some money is being stolen somewhere. The way we know Kenya. This is just to create attention and to do everything and everything. At first, it was one of them who disappeared. You remember when the lawyer disappeared as well? The lawyer plus the prisoner who was released. After that, what happened? Others broke from the committee prison and they disappeared. Now they are back. Is that did the fellow who found or reported them to the DCI, wherever, was he given the 60 million? Nobody will tell. Perhaps amefinywa na elfu tano and is told, go sleep and don't talk.
Yeah. Actually, that's one thing with Kenyans. We forget very fast when these things happen. Something else will happen tomorrow and we will follow the trail. We just follow the movie as it comes, just as you said. And there is so much to talk about that, but I don't want us to dwell on that. Let's get into some politics. And I can see this a youthful panel, and we want to have that voice of the youth and what the youth have to play in this whole political season headed into 2022. First of all, let me start with what happened in, was it Kondele, to the Deputy President, Honorable William Ruto. And let me ask you, Chepkoech, what happened to the Deputy President in Kondele? Is it a show that we are headed in the wrong direction, or is it just a case in isolation?
Thank you, Cedric. Now, whatever happened in Kondele, whether it was by design or otherwise, number one is wrong.
Yeah.
What is wrong, and what is right, regardless of which side is doing it. Political divide. Now, in 2022, the stakes are too high, Cedric. And all of us as young people need to accept that this is the election and we are the generation that are going to make a difference to this country. And the difference is either going to rescue the country from where it is in our economic situation. We know what is going on in the country, or break it completely. It is our choice and it is our responsibility squarely. So because we know the stakes are too high, there is responsibility upon all of us in the political field, in the CSOs, in even just the common citizen who is a voter, to make sure that the election is free, fair, and peaceful. You understand? So what happened in Kondele, number one, first of all, tukubaliane, was wrong, whether it was staged or otherwise, because we've had many stories about what happened. You understand? And there's an analogy that, I mean, made sense to me. Blame was being thrown to this other side. But who has the most to lose? You understand? So sometimes, mahali tumefika pia, sisi si mafala. And young people, we need to stop being used like this and start. I like what Tiberius has said. Sometimes things that happen are way beyond what we see or what we think they are. We need to sit and think critically and see what narrative are they trying to push, and how can we push back as the young people collectively. It doesn't matter which political divide you're in. You know, collectively, how can we push back and say, you know what, this has got to stop, and this is where we draw the line. And unfortunately, guys, I have always said the response, and we will be judged harshly by history. What did we do to save this country? Every generation has had its liberators. I mean, there was a generation of Akina Orengo fighting for the repeal of the Section 2A of the Constitution. There's a generation of Akina Mili that fought for us to have the current constitution that we have. What is our generation going to be remembered for? What are we fighting for? Or kazi yetu ni kupigana tu, tuko tu, tunaenda tu na rieng, as we call it.
Wow, thank you very much. I think we need to get something to do. At least you be counted somewhere. You either stand for something, or you don't stand for
fall for anything.
You can fall for anything if you don't have anything specific that you're standing for. And Nelson, they have said that, as you have heard the Chief Koech saying, we as the Kenyan youth, we are standing for nothing. Like most people say, youth are being used mostly in violences that happen in politics. You'll rarely see grown people over there in those rallies, and when scuffles happen, the youth are the ones affected. Those who are killed mostly are youth. Where do we need to go from this, basing your argument from what just happened in Kondele? Because as the talk that has been happening recently is that the narrative in politics has changed, and we are talking about issues. So that was very much unexpected.
Yes, Cedric, thank you so much. Now, I'm sure we've all seen politicians making some posts on social media and saying, I had an impromptu visit at such and such a place, and Wananchi came and we had a talk. But if you look at what they consider impromptu rally or stopovers, there are people with placards, people with banners, people with posters. There is nothing that happens politically in this country with these politicians that is not planned, either by you or by your opponent. From the statement we received over this Kondele issue, the police said they had given the president, the deputy president, intelligence report that there were some people who were planning some chaos. The police. When you have intelligence that somebody is planning something, you need to say, once we receive the intelligence, these are the people that were brought to book for having planned the violence. There was destruction of property. People were injured. there was disruption of peace. People's livelihood at Kondele, the vibandas were closed. Things were looted. The police are telling us that they had intelligence that the thing was planned, but they cannot tell us who planned. It was so shameful. Regardless of who wants to benefit from it, we must first of all condemn it. We are having in a country where the police, and I'll not stop talking about police until they behave or they
Yes.
realize their matter. The police are the ones who are supposed to protect us. Every Kenyan has a right to tour every part of this country. The police cannot come and tell me, as a Kenyan, I'm not supposed to tour Vihiga County because they have intelligence report that I'll be beaten. Their role is to protect me. That is what they are paid for. That is why they are employed. So if you tell us that there are some people, they had intelligence report, and you see, funny enough, they're releasing a statement that sounded so partisan that intended to paint a particular candidate in bad light. If you say you are fighting over funds, it is very wrong for a police body, a deputy inspector general, to issue such a statement. You need to tell us we are investigating. The suspects have been apprehended. But telling us that a particular Kenyan cannot tour a particular area because they have intelligence, why didn't they deploy enough police officers to counter the situation? The massive destruction of property that happened, the massive looting that happened, innocent Kenyans were beaten and injured. People's businesses were looted in Kondele.
Yeah.
And the police are not telling us who did this, because they cannot say the thousands of people who attended, all of them had planned. And if he said there were two factions fighting over funds, which factions were these? To date, nobody has written a statement. To date, nobody has been apprehended. It's very wrong, and it's failure on the part of the Kenya Police Service. In as much as we're condemning the act and saying that this is not what we intend to be looking forward to, we are nearing the election. And if we continue experiencing what you're experiencing, 2007, 2008, post-election violence will look like a rehearsal. If at all we are not going to accommodate one another. Let Raila Odinga come to Everett, do their campaign. Let William Ruto go to Kondele and Nyanza do their campaign. Let Musalia Mudavadi go to Northeast and do their campaign. Don't attend somebody's rally if you don't support them or if you don't want to listen to them.
Exactly.
Somebody's ideas. If I don't feel like I don't want to attend William Ruto's rally, let me not appear, because they come to Nakuru, and I can tell you for a fact, the first rally they do it across the road here. If I don't want to go, I don't go. And if I go, even if the idea they're selling to me I don't buy, I'll not heckle. Let me shout at the ballot and vote this person down.
Thank you. Thank you for very much, Mandela. And I really hope that the next year won't get that bad. I really hope we will come to address this issue as a nation in as quick as and as soon as possible, so that we don't get to that extent. And let me bring in my friend here from Hungary. So much is happening here back at home. Politics is heated. We started a long time ago, actually. But what happened in Kondele is something that everyone would condemn. Like, it's not just what we expect in the year 2021. No. So from your side, there are people actually who are saying, as you have heard the good lawyer say, that the deputy president had been warned not to go there, and that he had options of other places to go within the county. Do you think that that is actually the right thing to do, even if it was a form of intelligence of sorts, or just by common sense that the people in this area actually do not support me, I should not go there? Do we need to get to that extent where people are given places where they can attend a rally and be received well, and there are places where they will not be received, and so they should not go there at all?
Thank you, Cedric. From the lawyer, Mr. Lawyer, you know you're a busy man. That's why you can't go for the rallies. From the word go, you're a busy man. That's why you can't go to the rallies. But according to me, and from the books of history, we get the idea. We are only 50 years. Is it 60 now? Yes, 60. And we've not experienced a lot of maturity. You get it? We've not experienced, there are other nations there that have their political maturity is in the utmost good level. Now, for us, we are learning. Violence, as was experienced in Kondele, nobody can support that because we don't want the bad history to repeat itself. But let me say this jokingly. Kondele people have really improved.
You're being serious.
Yeah, so meaning we are maturing slowly by slowly. If Raila can be in Eldoret and sells his ideas and agenda without any violence, and the people of Eldoret, as we know, the people of Eldoret are solidly behind the deputy president, Ruto can come to Nyanza. It was only that the previous day, the event went on as planned, right? So
Yeah.
it means we are growing, and in the next 2-3 elections, we will not have any problem. You will not hear that such and such person was stoned, this. That will be dead. I'm telling you. If the Kondele people can only fight for 10 minutes, then we are really improving. We thank God we are headed in the right direction, and that is what we want. This general election, there will still be that here, there. I was done this. It was there in Nyeri. I saw the likes of Murkomen and the team being chased away from Nyeri. But you see, it was the one in Nyeri and any other place was nowhere in the media, right? But this one in Kisumu, the police, the way Mr. Lawyer said, the police is giving a statement after, right?
Yeah.
The other people say this was planned by the opponents. Then the opponents say it was choreographed by the host themselves. So it is politics and it is a dirty game. But I think what we should be enlightened as youths, nobody ever. In fact, when we are, I think it should be in the law somewhere or in the constitution. Ukizaliwa uchukue kiapo, mimi sitaibeba mawe, sitaibeba mkuki, sitaipigana na mtu yeyote kwa ajili ya siasa. It should be somewhere in the law. You see, if we get that in a urge and the maturity we are supposed to have in terms of politics and responding to the politicians, those people are in their business. Those people are in their agenda. The stoning in Kondele, did it stop Ruto from going to Homa Bay and Migori? It did not. So, in fact, that is what they want. That fracas. What will we talk about today in the media? What will we tell people? What will we use to sell our candidate and to bring bring down the opponent? That is it. Otherwise, me coming to Kisumu, if I'm the politician and giving you, Cedric, 2 million, I'm telling you, don't give the lawyer, and I'm telling the lawyer, I've given Cedric 2 million, go and take your share. That is the only way to trigger war. That is according to the police. I'm not saying the Ruto team was doing that. I don't know about it, but the violence, it is going down from the analysis. It is really going down. As far as I'm concerned, I've not heard what Kibera talking and the Madari people. And we pray, our hope is that we really pray that the peaceful environment, political environment, should coexist until the elections are done. Otherwise, we are still going to be taken back to what we saw, the crackers we've been seeing in the 2-3 past general elections. It is never good, it is never healthy, and above all, we are talking about the youths. It is us, right? The little money we are given, if somebody can really convince you that take this 100 shillings, go fuel your piki at 200 shillings, then come and throw stones, it means there's a big problem as a nation that needs to be fixed, right?
Very big problem.
These places where we are, their elections, you just hear in the announcement that so and so was elected. You don't see convoys and the big whatever,
Yes.
because it is none of their business. They already
Yeah.
have a good working system, and they are into that. So if you're a politician, you be your politician. The other people are busy with their stuff, so you don't make for them noise. But our nation, the youth, we are still being used so bad, and it is the political period. It will not stop anytime soon. I've said perhaps in the next 3 to 4 general election. If you saw that clip where people were addressing Ruto, advising him that they are seeing some problems with the Kalwale, then somebody's ready to die.
Yeah, for Halwali. Yeah.
Usiongelele Kalwale, nitakufa hapa. Those were the sentiments, really.
Yeah, Kenyan youth are very the
Maybe
Kenyan youth actually
if I may weigh in and
Yeah.
maybe echo something that
briefly.
the reason why the youth are being used in this country is because, number one, we don't have friendly policies that can empower us. The very reason why we are being used every campaign electioneering period is because they've subjected to a position of dependency. Without these people, we cannot do anything on our own. Without these handouts, we cannot be able to do anything. And therefore, they love it when we remain in our poverty. They love it when we remain ignorant, so that they can bring something as a bait to attract us. There is nothing much to explain why we are being used after every 5 years, more than the poverty we are experiencing in this country as the youthful generation. No employment. Even if you have skills, no money. If you start a business, opening a company, and I remember there's a time we talked about this, starting a company, just a supply company in this country is more expensive than any other thing. You start a trolley to sell eggs, the canjos are on your neck, and therefore the reason why you're being used, and unless we think otherwise, is because we remain in a position of dependency. They've made us subject to the extent that they can dictate us and give us something, and will act in whatever direction they're going to direct us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I think what you're just trying to say is that this is something that has been created for a long time, because most of these people who are in politics know that the youth are always the majority. So if the youth will always remain down there, it means you will always control them. You'll always have them voting for you the way you want. You can throw them something small. You can deny them what they need so that they keep following you. And this is actually something that we need to get out of, because it's time we realized that we carry the majority of the vote, and in the vote is where the power belongs. If my producer, you can bring back our nice guest tonight, Chepkoech, on the stream. And let me, just as we continue with this conversation, that the youth have been created a space down there as leaders of a tomorrow that never comes, actually, because every other electioneering period you are being told you are leaders of tomorrow, and that tomorrow never comes. But what comes at a time when we have the chance to advertise ourselves and to sell our own agenda? I want you to listen to a few clips which I have here. And one clip is from someone who says he is representing a youth. I don't know his age, if he is a youth. And this is Mr. Sifuna. Let's just listen to him of what he's saying that we as the youth have sent him to say that we actually need.
Baba, tunataka katika gava ya baba, kuna bei ya maisha imetulemea sisi kama vijana, na kuna vitu ambayo wameniambia hapa lazima nikuambie. Hii bei ya hii vitu lazima ianguke. Bei ya kwanza baba, wanasema bei ya unga lazima ishuke chini, na naongea hivyo kama kiongozi wa jamii ya Mlembe, na mnajua uhusiano wetu na unga. Kitu ya pili baba, bei ya mafuta lazima ishuke katika serikali yako, hii tunaita gava ya baba, kwa sababu hata hao wakulima wanatumia hata hiyo mafuta kwa matrakta yao wakati wanaenda kulima. Wanatumia hii vitu yote ambayo inahitajika kutumia mafuta. Fare ya kipanda, kila kitu inapanda. Ya tatu, na wameogopa kusema baba, wanataka bei ya TEI pia ishuke. Bei ya TEI fanye nini? Wameniambia hapa kila mzinga ikuwe ni Glen ama Chrome isipite 350. Hivyo ndio wamesema. Glen ama Chrome, ndakuambia hiyo ni nini? Lakini ni hivyo wamesema. Alafu
Yes, and I really hope you have heard that, what he has said. And Chepkoech, I'll be coming to you, but let me just play another clip here, very brief, from a gentleman here who was given an opportunity to talk at Raila's function, that's at the coast. Then we wait and see where.
Comrades power, comrades Ria, comrades wisdom, comrades, the magic of human achievement gives an irrefutable proof that as soon as the nationalism of any country is awakened among the youth.
And Chepkoech, let me come to you directly from those clips I have played. I don't know if you've gotten all of them. Do we as youth really represent, when given an opportunity, and I'm talking from this because you are a youth, you are a leader as a part of the KANU Secretariat. Do you, when given that chance, and do you think that other youthful leaders are really representing what the common youth really needs addressed? Chepkoech, are you still with us? Aha, I think we have lost her a little bit. Let me come to you, Mandela. What from those two addresses you've had from Sifuna, and I know you heard in its entirety that clip because it has been circulating around from the, I think it's a Pwani University student, or he was addressing Pwani University students. It seems youthful. Do you think they are representing what the Kenyan youth are?
Yes, thank you, Cedric. Unfortunately, no. There is what you say that Baba wants to hear, and there is what you should say that affects you. Mere chance on political platforms on behalf of youth does not amount to policy. What is affecting us? Because if I ask from what that young man and what Sifuna said, if there is anything you can decipher and correctly get to see where they highlighted what affects us in the two clips, there is nothing. All we hear are political chants to attract attentions and get relations. If given an opportunity to talk, and in fact, anybody wants to listen to us, you don't have to give me a microphone on a podium where the person I'm supposed to be telling what affects me has no pen or a writing pad. I need to come with my blueprint and say, on behalf of the youth, please don't understand, being one of them, what is affecting us is unemployment. What is affecting us is police. What is affecting us is police harassment. What is affecting us is increase of university fees. What is affecting us is cost of living, etc. If I can be given an opportunity, I don't need to address William Ruto or give Raila Odinga on behalf of the youth of this country on a political platform where somebody is snatching the microphone from me. I need to sit down. And Cedric, from the onset, and this is why we were having multiple press briefings over BBI. We used to highlight and say, we are going to support BBI because of 1, 2, 3. The youth, women, people living with disability, the minority should have a threshold anchored in law that when a government is formed, that they shall have nomination for youth, this number of youth nominated to parliament, this number of youth nominated to the cabinet, this number of youth nominated or appointed in parastatals, as we have slots for people with disability, as have slots for women. We need such anchored in law, not me coming to tell you in a political rally that we need jobs and then you tell me we'll give you jobs. How am I going to be certain that we are not going to be shortchanged? We need this thing anchored so that if we form coalition, and that's why I like the ODM party, they say they're looking for partnership. If you're going to be partners, you bring this, I bring this, we put together, we harmonize, we agree, we forge ahead. Not me coming and saying youth are hungry, the youth are unemployed. I've told you, what assurance do I have that when you get power, you're going to create employment? And if at all you're going to create employment, what assurance do I have that the employment shall be for the youth? We have people in this country nominating 70 years old. They're like Siberia Sage, the former commissioner who was fired yesterday from prison. Is going to be appointed in another docket in the coming week or month, because in this government, incompetence in one sector is competence in another sector. So these people who go and take microphones, we don't want to address our issues in rallies. We need a round table. We need to discuss. We are unemployed. This is what we want. We are not getting enough representation in the two houses of parliament. This is what we want. We don't get appointment in parastatus because it's a reward for retirees. This is what we want. We are not comfortable with increase in university fees. This is what we want. If you are saying help loan is going to be a grant, how is it anchored in law? We need a blueprint for the same, not just mere allegations, mere words, and calling people that you know. You see, it can be very nice if we come and pick a random person and ask them, what do you want to hear? Because if we tell Sifuna to speak on behalf of the youth, and Sifuna is a very close confidant of Raila Odinga, he'll definitely tell Raila Odinga what he wants to hear. If we send Oscar Sudi to tell William Ruto what the youth of this country want, Oscar Sudi may not even understand, because in his youthful years he was a makanga. He may not understand the struggle because most of the time he was tired and asleep. So we need to pick people who are sober enough, people who are interactive, like the way we are having this show. If Cedric, you are called today, having heard, listen to all of us, you can go and say, having had multiple talks, this is what people are highlighting. Just look at the comments. You are at least aware of what people are experiencing. If you take Sifuna, Sifuna is the general of a party. He must pick what the party wants to hear. And therefore, we have no representation. We want to be called on a round table and be told, what do you have? And we must present a blueprint for the state. This is our demand. If you need partnership, give us a guarantee that when you form the next government, you're going to nominate, party nomination are going to be for the youth. In fact, the best candidate, the women, people with disability, and the youth below the age of 35 who are contesting should not pay nomination fees for whatever party they're going to be using to contest. That can be the best effort.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much for your very elaborate statement there. And let me bring you in briefly, Tiberius. Do you think we as youth, the very pertinent issues that we have, which we need addressed, can be done within the structures of the parties which are already existing in Kenya? Or do we need to come with a force as a youth? Can our issues be addressed within the parties that exist, or we need to handle our issues and present them independently as youth?
KK, we will benefit once we are at the age of the youths who benefit from the government appointees. That is when we'll benefit. Otherwise, we will be making noise until thy kingdom come, or until our youthful age starts. Because the observations you've been seeing, even from the side of the government, is boring. I mean, it's an embarrassment to the youth. You're telling us you'll be supporting the youths, and here the appointees, all the senior appointees, 1 out of 10. In fact, I don't know any youth apart from Chipukizi who is in any parastatal body. I'm not sure if they are, and if they are, wako chini, ni watoto wa wadosi wako chini ya maji, if they really are. But then the representation is unbalanced, because the youth are more than those, the age bracket being given the jobs. I'm not convinced that in the prison, the entire prisons department, there is no one in his who is in his 40s with all those qualifications, the brigadier was given the tax yesterday has. I am sure they are. But then it is in the man hit man society. You know me, yes. I know you, yes. Let's benefit from each other, mutual relationship. That is what is really happening. Therefore, the youths are left behind to participate in the dirty politics. Now, on the side of the likes of Sifuna, who are echoing. Last time, remember I told you that when you see a youth, right now, when you see a youth talking in a podium, is presenting the big boys. That one, no. He's representing the big boys. There is no youth who will try, unless you are doing comedy like Eric Omondi. There's no youth who will come out strong and make the demos and do everything, and you want to be successful. You will be arrested. You will be told, kijana fanya hii ama hii fanyike. It is two options. You either do
Yes.
what they want or you suffer. You know, are you seeing what Bobby Wine is doing in Uganda?
Yeah.
That is not the real definition of a youth revolutionary. That is the real definition of youth revolutionary. Otherwise, back at home, what we have, they're echoing the brains of the big boys just because of the benefits. And at the end, they will become the bad time, I don't want to use, the toilet cleaners or the bedroom, wale wakutandika kitanda.
Wow.
You see?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, and you remember when Oburu was supposed to be, when Jack Akimba was to be nominated to the East African Legislative Assembly, what happened? The youth, Oburu Odinga won and is there doing it. That is really shit. And
A
that
very
is
young
what-
man.
A very young man at his age, very young, and is doing it. Mudi Awori, the former vice president, is the whatever of youth. Is he still the one?
He was somewhere in a youth office, I remember.
I don't even think Mudi Awori can hold a pen and think what to write right now because of his age, psychologically. You see? So with the government and the system we have, the youths are there to make noise, and the noise are not going anywhere beyond the clouds. If you board a plane, if you one day you board a plane, you realize that the distance you see from the ground to the clouds, the plane goes far much higher than the distance you see from the plane to the clouds. So our
Yes.
noise we make here is not anywhere near the clouds. So that is the situation we are in. And we
Yeah.
can't help, literally, we can't help.
And since we have the vote, we hope that we will come together for one time. It might be now or not now, and try and change this narrative. And Chepkoech, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm sorry, I've been having some technical difficulties.
Oh, sorry for that. And it's great. It's great that you've joined us back. And let me bring you into this conversation you're having about the youth. And you are a youth, and you are a member of the KANU Secretariat. There is another youth also who has a senior position in, I think it's ANC, who just got appointed as the Secretary
General. Yes.
Yeah, the Secretary General of ANC is a very youthful young man. Do you think that the parties we have in Kenya currently, the parties that are big enough to produce, let me say, a presidential candidate, are giving the youth enough space to express the agenda of the youth? Or are they just using the youth as a bait to get the votes of fellow youth?
Thank you, Cedric. Now, your question, I can segment it into two. You've asked about the kind of political parties that we have in this country and their capabilities. And two, inclusion of the youth within political parties, and especially on what we have come to call decision-making table. Now, one, in Kenya, we form political parties on need basis. And why I say need basis is that why do political parties participate in elections? Is to get power. I mean, to get into state house. Now, most of our political parties are formed for that purpose. to get into government. We have a track record. Look at it from 2002, when KANU was getting out of government. How many political parties have been formed since then for just purposes of getting into government? Even the current government, they started as TNA and URP. They came to form Jubilee. Now it is split again. There are no parties that are there for posterity. Apart from KANU, I think, and ODM and Akina Ford, most of the parties come up for, I would call them briefcase parties. And that is a problem because we cannot hold our politicians accountable if we don't even know where to find them. This general election, they were in this party. The next, you don't even know what party they are going to vie with. You understand? So how do you even hold accountable that kind of a person? So I think it's also about time that we get political parties that we can hold accountable, judge them by their history and their track record, and say, we are not voting for political party X because your track record has just been horrible. You cannot come out of government to say that, vote for me because that government has done this. I mean, really, aren't you part of that same government? Just as an example. So number two, about youth inclusion in political parties, I have seen most political parties deliberately engage young people, but how they are engaged and to what extent is now what we need to question. Being included is not the problem. You see, people can include you just for the tick in the box. That when they take their records back to ORPP, Office of Registrar of Political Parties, there is a 30% of inclusion of the youth and 30% of women and PWDs. I mean the SIG groups in general, then as a tick in the box. But it is not, you don't have any kind of influence within your party. So I think what we need to change tact as young people. We need to start being in those spaces and fighting to be heard, fighting to change the narrative. Like I could catch a bit of my panelists, my co-panelists were talking about when Sifuna and the young man in Kilifi were talking, and Wakili said that Sifuna is someone who has Baba's ear. That is true. Now, young people, we need to position ourselves in strategically in such places where we can have that round table with our party leaders or political leaders in general. So there's nothing that is given. And we all know power has to be grabbed, power has to be taken. There is no way we can expect for a political party leader to say, okay, sasa nyinyi youth, kujeni hapa nataka kuwagawia power. Never has that ever happened. And if it's given to you, then you should question it because it means you have no power, absolutely nothing. If you dare raise your voice, you will be told, but sinilikupea, unaniambia nini. But when you take it, when we fight and take it for ourselves, then that means we are their equals and we can sit together and they can listen to what we have to say. Now, I have seen young people come into political parties. I have seen young people being included. Let me speak for my party in particular. We have what is called the National Executive Council, and I think most parties have that, the NEC. We have 3 youth who are sitting there, and we have also 3 women from the congresses who sit there. They not only sit there, but they also sit there to represent our issues. You understand? As young people, as young women. It is not easy being in politics. It's not easy to be in politics as a woman, one, and second, as a young woman. It is not. So, and we cannot fight this fight from the periphery and from sitting in the fence and saying you people ni nani. All of you, let us join political parties for those who can and advance this fight together, advance this agenda together. You cannot fight from outside. We have to fight from within. And remember, whether we like it or not, politics affects every aspect of our life. It breaks my heart when I talk to young people and they say, I don't care about politics. I mean, after all, hainilishi. Aha. So what happened to you when the pandemic hit the country? And because of the kind of political choices we had made, we are all paying for the consequences. It is a direct ripple effect of our everyday life, whether it is the healthcare system, whether it is the education system, whatever it is, however you want to look at it. Our economy is at where it is as a result of our either good or bad political choices. We have the answers to that. So as young people, we cannot afford, even for a minute, to say that we cannot be involved in a political process or in an electoral process. We cannot. We have to fight from within. We have to speak up. We have to sit in those tables that we've labeled as decision-making tables and fight from there. And consistency and persistency. And we have to have the patience. The other thing about young people is we like things, we are a generation of instant noodles. We want things to happen now. And we have a very short span memory. And we are very, our attention also to things in detail is very short. Because I want to graduate today and tomorrow, me Chepkoech, I'm driving a G-Wagon. Ulisikia wapi? You understand? We have to trust the process. And that's where I think, I feel like we lose out as young people. We have lacked the patience to trust the process. We have lacked the patience to know that this is not, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Yeah. And luckily I come from that community where, you know, we have to be resilient to run for 2 hours. So it's not a sprint. And most of these political leaders you see now, they started their journey 20, 30 years ago. We are competing with people who, before we were born, they were in politics. So also, really, we are at an advantage because of modernization and you know, technological advancement to our advantage. But are we using it to our advantage? Are we using it to make a real change?
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, let's change our mindset. Let's change our thinking and stop what we want to call instant gratification. Life doesn't work like that. Lazima tupambane na hali yetu.
Kabisa. Actually, we have to fight for what we need and not just sit there and wait to be given on a silver platter. Thank you very much, Chepkoech. And I'll come to you, Tiberius.
Yeah, Cedric, maybe
because I'm aware that you should have left the stream a few minutes ago to attend to something else, and I will be bringing you to come and just sorry there for that hitch, just short hitch there. Tiberius, just briefly, you give us your remarks and you will be free to exit. So that you can handle what you are to deal with. Give us your remarks on climate change and whether this should be a topic that can be discussed in our politics as a country. I saw at the politics in Germany, that was a very major discussion there during the election. Do you think this can be a political debate in Kenya? And with that, give us your final remarks as you finish.
Mr. KK, thank you for being considerate. I'm late because I had informed you. So the topic you've really asked, that is now my area of study anyway. I'm an environmentalist because I'm majoring on environmental chemistry. It requires more than the 1 minute I could have talked. You'll forgive me. But politicians who are not addressing the issue of climate change is not going to help us. It's not going to help Kenyans, because if you look at the map of Kenya, the bigger percentage has now joined the brown color, not the green color, which means from forest to dust. The bigger percentage has now joined the brown color. So there's a lot that can be said about that, and I'll request that you make it a topic next time.
Yeah.
Thank you. One lawyer and one Madam Towet, I don't know whether it's Miss or Mrs., but Miss Towet, I beg to leave, and thank you all for hosting me. This time I have to attend to another business.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for honoring our invite. And let me just bring the same question to you, Mr. Mandela. Do you think that this is a discussion that should just be held in boardrooms of bodies involved with climate change and the likes, or is it high time that we took this up on our political platforms?
Cedric, I don't know if you remember, I think it was in 2007, where somebody, a leader, stood at
Yes.
Mau Forest and said, mti haileti mvua, ni mvua inaleta mti. I don't know if you people recall that statement from a member, was one of the leaders from the either Kalenjin or the Ma community, who boldly stood on a podium and people clapped for him. I don't know if these are the very people we need them to engage us and discuss about climate change and politics. Then I think we are being ambitious. Unfortunately, like Tiberius just said, if you look at our country right now, the bigger part of it is turning brown. Our water catchment areas, our forest areas, trees in this country, if you look closely, everything is being affected. Look at Baringo. These people, they've not, some part of Baringo and Pokot, they've not seen rain for I don't know how long. It's an issue to do with climate change. But then our people in positions of responsibility, our leaders do not understand it. And these are the very people we depend on to come and enlighten our people about the same. I think we have a long way to go. We can include in the political policies, but I don't think even the people who are supposed to do that understand. But in a very dire situation, if you follow closely our rain pattern, it rains in a short while, and evenly we experience floods. In a short while, we're experiencing drought. Go to Kambani, people going for kilometers, waking up at 5 in the morning to go and fetch water just to come home at 4 noon or thereabout. It's a sad situation, but then the problem is probably those who should be talking about it. We have experts like Tiberius when they come back home. I have a friend called Mentalist Onjoro. For them, they can be able to talk, but they have the platform. We have those who can make legislation, make laws, but they do not understand the concept. So it's a sad state of affair. Unfortunately, we cannot have it as a political agenda and people to discuss about it, because even those who will be electing, those we can see who are front runners do not understand it. And the list is the list of their concerns. Quite unfortunate.
Yeah. Thank you. And Chepkoech, if you are still with us as we wind up,
I am.
Political leaders, especially those who want to get into gubernatorial races as well as the presidency, they will also have the mandate to make these decisions to do with climate change. So from the political point of view, is it a discussion we are supposed to have? And also putting in mind that this will get involvement with the whole idea of industrialization. Industrialization is just something that we are now getting into. We are not greatly industrialized. So there are countries like the Secretary of the US has been around and he has been talking about the issue of climate change. These countries which were industrialized very many years ago, a country like China and Russia, there was the COP26 conference in Glasgow just this month. They were not there, and they are greatly industrialized countries which are contributing very much to global warming. Do you think that we are supposed to be on the front line to talk about climate change and just take back our dreams of being industrialized when the countries that are actually causing all this global warming are not coming to the table very much to be part of the conversation? Chepkoech.
Thank you so much, Cedric. You have packed that question until I have confused myself, but I will I will try and break it down better how I understand. Now, for example, the G7. The G7, as we know it, should be at the forefront of fighting climate change, because they are the ones who contribute the bigger percentage of the carbon footprint that we have from the industrialization that you're talking about and all that. Now, for Russia and the US not to be present, that says something about the fight against climate change. It's funny how you brought Glasgow, because there was a joke that was going around where Kenya took a delegation of 326 people when even the host UK had 100 and something people. Those 300 and plus people, what did they go to do there? And who is coming back to bring what where? You understand? Because what climate change is, when you say climate change, it is such a jargon for me and my village mates to understand. We need to break it down in a way that it speaks to us and to what is happening in our immediate environment and what you need us to change in our immediate environment. Don't just say climate change. What monster is that? You understand? In Tiati, in Baringo County, Chemulingot, the road has been completely submerged by the rise of Lake Baringo. Some schools in Baringo South have been completely submerged by the rise of the waters from the lake. Can we break it down, have experts to break it down and explain to that community what they need to do and why it is needed now? Not just for somebody to stand in a podium. Sasa sisi, you know, politicians, we are in the business of selling hope. I am also not going to sit here and lie to you. So, unlike everything else we have played with, this is not something we can afford to play with. This is something that those 300 and something people warudi hapa na watuambie pesa yetu walienda kufanyia nini, and what it is they are coming to do to make a change in their own countries. Otherwise, ni selfie tu walienda kupiga. You see, we have to be real, because those people who are running for gubernatorial and even the presidency, I have not heard any speak really and break down the information as they should. It's in, for example, in my party, it is among the things that speak to my party leader, but we are still also in the process of getting experts to break it down, because even me as chair, today, if you gave me the platform to speak about it, I will say 1 to 3 things, what I have picked along the way. But can I really educate people about it? Can I go there and speak on behalf of the youth and have a rallying call of what we should do? So I think there's a lot of information that needs to be out there. There's also a lot of work that the government needs to deliberately put out there. Civic education and capacity building, even for the experts, for them to understand better climate change in the context of our country. What does it mean? Because I think we've taken this global thing too far that we forget that we have to localize it. We have to localize it and fight it from home. I think
Yes.
that's my 2 cents.
Yes, and that's why I said, maybe to echo what Chepkoech just said, that's why I said those who should be addressing the issue, they equally have no idea. So if you go
Exactly.
and tell in the village about climate change, and the person who is supposed to be telling them the same from Baringo does not understand, and probably the government took a delegation to understand and they came back and there's no report, there's no publication of that effect, then we are in a very unfortunate situation. And therefore, we need experts, not even, because if we say we are going to make it a political issue, we are going to start saying people should get out of the Ngong forest, people should remain in Ngong forest, people should get out of Lake Baringo, people should remain at Lake Baringo. It's going to be a vicious cycle. So it's important that we get experts to break down to the person in the village to understand that if you do this, this is going to happen. Floods are happening because of 1, 2, 3. In the trains, we don't have water because of 1, 2, 3, and so forth.
Thank you very much, Mandela, there. And I don't know if my producer is still there to play for me some questions that have been asked, and we have overshot our time tonight. We have gone beyond the hour, and I'll just be brief. Just a few questions, about 3 questions, Don, or 3 comments, not necessarily questions, just 3 comments, and then we have our final take. Kipkirui Arab Korir is saying, I must agree with Ruth Bolo. The Kondele incident was by design because Ruto conducted a very peaceful campaign in other Luo counties. Thank you very much for your comment there, Korir. Another one, Ruth Bolo saying that the Kondele issue was being used to push a negative narrative about a certain ethnic group. Why isn't anyone talking about Nyeri? Very pertinent question there. Benedict Siahi saying some sober opinion there. We surely need political parties that we can hold accountable. Thank you very much, Benedict Siahi. Last one, Don. JK, the heat has just begun. The saddest thing is that still we youth, we are being used again and again. We youth are being used again and again. Your final remarks, Chief Koech, as we finish the show. What should we as youth do heading into 2022 to make sure that we have our voice counting to the final vote and not to be used in the chaos that come around with the electioneering period?
Thank you, Cedric. Now, we have seen the results of us being used. We have also seen the results of what could happen when we come together. What we need to do is to go back to the drawing board and think, what do we really want for ourselves? You see, this life is pro-choice. Maybe us guys are sitting here thinking that we want to advance the agenda of the youth and to want to have better things for ourselves. But it is not everybody who wants that. You understand? So we need to go back and sit and think, guys, what do we want? When we agree on what we want, direction becomes easy. Because if we don't agree on what we want, we will take 10 steps forward and return negative, a million of them. Because as we are fighting, there's those who will be fighting us and bringing us down. So we need to sit as one and now decide this is what we want. When we have what we want, this is the direction we are taking. And nothing is going to stop us. It does not matter from which political divide you come from. If I am advancing the same agenda in Kano, someone else in ODM is advancing the same youth agenda. Someone else in Jubilee. You understand? It means that after 2022, we will all come back and sit and say, you know what, guys, we made it. We made it to have 25 elected young MPs in parliament. We made it to have 500 elected young MCAs collectively. And when they get into that parliament, they will fight for us collectively. They will go to say, Mimi na advance to agenda ya Kanu, young people. No. We will all benefit as a country. So let us go back and sit and think about what we want. When we agree about what we want, then let us take a common direction.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Mandela, I think as you give us your final take, there is someone who asked us to talk about Miguna Miguna. The whole saga around Miguna Miguna and him being denied access to his homeland. He's saying he hasn't seen his relatives in Kenya for 4 years. Talk about that as you give us your final take, as you take us home. So about Miguna Miguna and what is the law saying about what is happening around him?
Yes, thank you so much, Cedric. Before I respond to the questions, there's some people here who will come from my head if I don't mention them. I have a friend of mine called Stephen Kakaire. I can see him following, and he said, I must tuma salamu. Brian Kipkorir, the one who just sent a question, is my senior in the profession. I see Wakili Evans Odwar and my old friend, Emily Ayuma. Brian CI, there's many of you, I can't mention all of you, but I'll definitely give you a call or a message in WhatsApp to appreciate your support. Now, you see, there is nothing we can be explaining right now about Miguna being a Kenyan. Miguna is a Kenyan, and we all know. The High Court has pronounced itself several times, in fact, time without number. There are multiple court orders the government has refused to comply with, and it's just unfortunate. It's a precedent, and that's why I said when we were having a discussion before, the High Court sentencing DCI boss Kinoti is good for the rule of law. All these things that is happening, people think they're so powerful and enjoying trappings of power right now, to blatantly ignore and disregard court orders concerning Miguna, it will definitely catch up with them unless they die in power or before then. But there is no explanation we can give. Miguna is a Kenyan, and we all know, even those who are trying to block him, they know Miguna is a Kenyan, and therefore there is no explanation we can give. We just have to wait, and time will tell it all. Now, on the issue of youth, I want to echo, and that is the sentiments made by Chief Koech, and that's what I've always said. We only make mistakes because we are facing different directions. The moment we realize our strength and our might and forge towards one direction as the youth of this country, then these people will come looking for us. Then we'll make our demands. Then we'll have a number of us in both the National Assembly, the Senate, in the county government, in the executive, in the parastatal. We are just yet to realize the power that we have. We're just yet to realize that if we can join forces and be together, how much far we can go. So it's upon us to realize, and I'm happy when we talk, we get to realize that people tend to get what we say seriously. It may take some time, but in the near future, we are going to realize that our objective is the same, our goal is the same, and should we face in the same direction, we are going to take all these things in our hands. This power belongs to us because we are over 60% of us. And therefore, it's just a matter of us realizing that we are the majority, we have the power, and we need to forge towards one direction. Like Chepkoech said, it will not matter whether you're in ODM, in UDA, in Jubilee, or KANU. The moment you realize that we need to be in these houses, we need to make friendly legislation to us. We need to come up with amendment. We need to create jobs. We need to ask tough questions. It's the day we'll come together, regardless of our political parties or affiliation, and forge towards one direction. Thank you so much for having us, Cedric.
Thank you. Thank you very much for showing up tonight. Again, lawyer, political commentator, Nelson Mandela. It's always great to have you on the show, having very great and candid conversation here. And tonight we also had Chepkoech Towet for the very first time joining us, a member of the KANU Secretariat. Thank you very much, Chepkoech, and I hope if we call you next time, you'll also still find time for the show.
Yes, I will.
Yes, thank you very much, all of you, for watching. This is The Alternative Voice. My name is KK Cedric, Trends KE. We see you again next week, same place, same time. Have a great night.
It's Trends O'Clock